What up, y'all? It is January 27th around 3:18 p.m. Um Today I kind of want to talk about grief, gratitude, as well as being okay with not being okay. Um a friend of mine told me that grief is simply love with nowhere to go, right? And so I start with that just in saying that I want to say thank you because over the last 2 weeks I've experienced an outpouring of love that I don't take lightly regarding my father's passing. Right. I've gotten a lot of emails, text messages, phone calls, direct messages, social media messages, conversations in Chicago as well as here in Columbia, South Carolina, support from colleagues, fraternity members, Kappa Alpha Psi, friends from Penn, and people I've known since childhood. If we going to go back to my lineage in Chicago, as far as schools, as folks in Chicago like to do, elementary school at Ancona, my first high school experience at De La Salle Institute, and then also my folks at Luther South. It's been a blessing. It's also been very overwhelming, right? People keep asking me, "Are you okay?" To be honest, the answer is no. I'm not okay. My father was my best friend. He was someone who I also would consider to be my hero, right? And so it was hard enough watching him sort of deteriorate over the last few years with Parkinson's. Um, so yeah, the honest answer is no, I'm not okay, but I'm also learning that I don't think I'm supposed to be, right? And I think I got that even from talking to, my therapist as well as, just close family members. And so this video right now isn't about closure. I guess I'm just trying to talk about what I'm going through, right? And it's not about wrapping grief in a bow. It's about sort of sitting in this tension of loving someone deeply and having to go on without them, right? And so to me, grieving is about being okay with not being okay, right? And that being temporary, being a transitional point, but like also being realistic with oneself. My father, Dr. Robert Evans, passed away unexpectedly on New Year's Eve. He was 76 years old, and I spoke at his funeral about the kind of man he was. So I want to say something slightly different here because I think you can go to my social media account, Instagram in particular, and probably see, that type of messaging. Um, but I want to talk about, what it means to grieve someone who lived well, right? I think my dad lived a good life, not a flashy one, not a performative one, but a good one. He definitely was the type of man who showed up consistently for me, for his family, extended family, his clients, as well as his community, his church. Anybody who needed guidance, support, or someone to listen, he was always there. Service wasn't just something that he did as a role, it was literally who he was. And I think knowing that and hearing the level of support from others, that's sort of what gives me comfort in all of this, right? So grief feels different. It hurts, but it's not necessarily one that's filled with regret. I don't feel cheated. I don't feel like I left something unsaid. I was actually in Chicago, able to surround my dad at the time of his passing, be with him for Christmas, be with him even on the day of his death, right? And be with him at the hospital to pray over his body, right? So, I also look at this last year. I took a total of 10 trips to Chicago um in 2025, and I think that's a marvel in and of itself. The ability that I had, that my job afforded me to do that. um and I had my dad for over 40 years, right? And that's a gift. Phenomenal childhood memories of being loved intentionally, being guided, corrected, encouraged, protected. Knowing that I could call my dad whenever and he would answer, that was enough to make me feel like I could move through this world. That sense of coverage might be gone, and I think that's the ache that I'm dealing with. So When people ask me, am I okay? I'm like, yeah, I got love with nowhere to go, you know. But that love ain't never gonna stop. It just has to be channeled into something more positive, something that he would have wanted me to do. Not necessarily for him, maybe for myself, maybe for my community, whatever, so on and so forth. But that love has to transform into energy that could be channeled elsewhere that is productive. And so a close friend of mine, a colleague, I won't give her attribution or whatever, but the sentiment really mattered to me. She reminded me that while there's no time, no good time to lose a parent, losing one around the holidays is one that really will cut deep. And she also reminded me of something else. She said the greatest gift our parents can give us is being present long enough to see us into adulthood, long enough to become our friends, long enough to enjoy the fruits of raising us. And that was something that really landed for me. My dad didn't just raise me, he got to see me become who I am. We got to talk as peers, as men, as friends. That matters to me more than ever. He was there to see my son, you know, get to the point of graduating from elementary school, live beyond him graduating high school. He was there to see me get engaged, get married, finish a PhD. He was there to see me get a record deal. He was there to see me perform at House of Blues, there to see me perform at Lollapalooza, there to see me hit a home run at Thillen Stadium when I was like 12. There to see me, get 20 to 30 points in a YMCA All-Star game on the south side of Chicago. He was there for all of my memories that matter to me most. Um, you know, and so what that message that my friend sent to me sort of gave me is like everything I ever wanted to repay to my father in gratitude, I can repay him in pride. And I can give his soul peace knowing that I inherited the tools for navigating this life. And that reframes something for me. Like, I don't need to prove anything to honor my dad. I need to more so live in a way that reflects what he modeled for me, right? Steadiness, integrity, care, patience, faith, service. If I'm being honest, you know, learning to live without the certainty of his presence is really what is hardest here, right? And so without that safety net of having that phone call away mentality, that loss is real. That deserves space. But I also learned that grief isn't a straight line. At first I was in shock. Then I was grounded. Then I felt disoriented. And then I felt normal. And so being okay with not being okay is an act of self-compassion. Um, One more thing that my friend said to me also sticks, right? She said, if I don't feel like I got to say goodbye, that I still can in ways that I know that he would hear. I think this video might be one of those ways. I don't feel pressure to move on. I feel responsibility to remember, to honor, to live forward, carrying what he gave me. Now, if you're watching this and you're grieving, or you've lost someone you've loved, or you're walking alongside someone who is, I offer this to you: permission to slow down, permission to feel deeply, permission to hold gratitude and grief at the same time. There's no timeline, there's no correct posture. Love doesn't just disappear because someone who you loved does. Um, I say all that to say, like, I've been really trying to figure out how to get through this semester while giving myself grace, and also recognizing the signs of when my grieving is sort of impacting how I'm moving through the world in ways that might not be helpful for me. Um, and I can't say I have it all figured out at this point. It's still less than a month, right? So to get back to like the original thought process of like, am I okay? It depends on what you call okay. Am I moving forward? Am I happy about, my father being gone? Not necessarily. Um, but do I know that there are good things ahead and that his death wasn't in vain? Um, I know that too. Yes. So I just wanted to take a time out to just sort of do this video. Um, Instead of doing the typical type of content that I would do, just because I feel like uh I think it's cathartic in the same way that, when I used to do songs with the same intentionality, I think it's always been helpful to use media and storytelling and just the idea of oral history as a release. I recently put out an album, and this is not a shameless plug, but I put out an album. I didn't really do much promotion of it, but it is out, and it is called Armchair Quarterback. And there's a song on there uh, called Higher. And at the beginning of the second verse, I say something to the effect of, "My Superman got Parkinson's. That's some old bullshit, Laurie marketing. Same man taught me how to wear a moccasin, feet swollen till he can't even stand to walk in them. Evolution of time, we all got a day. Can't freeze it in time, we not here to stay. So at the bar, I might stay a while. 15th, bank account, I might pay a while. Find your happy place, mine's a cigar. Clear cup of Henny, looking up at the stars, contemplating bars. Rainbow Beach, crib feeling like a car." Feels intimate, you know. So when I said my Superman got Parkinson's, I didn't have any idea that what that would have meant, going forward. But I knew I was struggling with my dad's illness, um, feeling like he wasn't who I knew him to be my whole childhood. Though he was very sharp mentally all the way up until the day he died, I could see him physically deteriorating, but also becoming frustrated with the inability to do certain things um, for himself, everyday normal stuff. And so, in some ways, maybe it was time for him to rest. Maybe it was time for him to also not feel like a burden when his entire life he gave to others and served others. And when it was time for others to serve him, I don't know if that was something he wanted to necessarily live through. Um, in a serendipitous sort of unconscious sort of a way. So that said, I know a lot of folks been, reaching out, asking me, "Are you okay?" And to me, this is sort of like a video response that sort of gives where I'm at in the moment, while also giving myself the ability of release uh, and catharsis. Yeah. And there will be more content to come. I'm not going to stop, but I just wanted to take some time out now that I've kind of come out from under the rock I was hiding behind, and just sort of say thank you to those who have reached out. And also hopeful that these things I'm sharing and talking about make you feel more comfortable if you're going through something and you didn't know I was. So I'll leave that there, and I hope y'all have a good week, because I'm dang sure I'm going to try. All right. Peace.